Let me tell you guys the power of environment. Oftentimes people always say it's better to be a landlord in your village. You live there in your village than to be a tenant in the city. Let me explain this. Sometimes, or most times, is not true, because where you live influences your thoughts. Where you live, it influences how you think. Imagine living in an environment whereby to see a decent car, to see people driving latest cars is always a problem. Your mentality will revolve around that pattern of environment. Imagine living in an environment whereby every weekend you see people, they park cars in your streets, drinking and littering bottles around. When you grow up in such an environment, you feel, it's normal, it's part of life. You love it. Imagine living in an environment whereby for you to get a decent shop, to get, your groceries and all that, you need to take a bus or take a taxi or drive kilometers away from your home. Imagine living in an environment whereby for you to get a good school for your children, you need to drive kilometers for them to get a proper school, all because you are living in your own house, all because you are not paying rent. Now, when you give birth to your children and they grow up in such an environment, honestly, they will not think beyond that environment. It's going to take the grace of God for them to think beyond that environment that they grew up in. That is why you see most of the trollers on social media, most of the people that come to troll, that they are so bitter, they express hatred, it's because of where they grew up. It's because of where they are living. The power of environment has influenced them. So for someone to say is better for you to be a landlord in your village, in a location, than to be a tenant in the city, me personally, I will always choose to be a tenant in the city. If you give birth and your children, they grow up in the city, in the suburbs, they are likely to meet other children that they will think alike. They are likely to have schoolmates that tomorrow can easily call them for one or two things. They are likely to meet up with the children of people with power. They are likely to have a connection as they grow up. They are likely to be informed of how the world revolve. So for you to say, no, I prefer to live in the village, I prefer to live in the location just because I don't want to pay rent, you are comfortable, you are not doing yourself any good. That is just the honest truth. So I know not everyone can afford to live in the suburbs, but location where you live, where you raise your children, where you do your daily things is very important. Okay, now let's take a case study. South Africa, for example. You see, with their recent xenophobia and all that, you've never seen where they've come to the suburbs to loot shops. Never. You've never seen where you know, Dudula, they come to the suburbs to start harassing people. It's always in the locations. It's always in the villages where, you know, that is how it is, you know. So your environment, it's very important. Where you live, very important. May God give us the power, the energy, the finances for us to live in a decent environment. Share this video.